This is Tracy here with another edition of View from Tracy's Point, and it has been a while since you guys have actually seen me on screen. I really like doing my videos where I'm just talking and rolling images, but when it comes to recapping television shows, I like to get in front of the camera. And so before we get started, I hope you noticed the ad that was running at the beginning of the video. And many of you know that I am a published author. I haven't written a book in a while, but what I've decided to do is to go back and revisit my first books, clean them up, and republish them. And so I started with my book, Love Like Snow in Florida on a Hot Summer Day. And so that is the book that is being advertised. It is available on Amazon. You can also get autographed copies on my website, tracyldarity.com. And all of that information is in the description, including the bio for the book. And so I hope you guys will support me if you are readers to check the book out and leave a review. If you're somebody who's already purchased the book and read it, reviews are appreciated, and then it helps the book rise in the rankings on Amazon. And since it's been a few years since this book came out, my rankings have tanked. So if you read the book, please leave a review. And autographed copies you can get on my website. Otherwise, you can buy the book off of Amazon. And you also can read it for free on Kindle if you subscribe to Amazon's Kindle Unlimited. And so let's go ahead and get into Queen Sugar. So apologies for not finishing season 5. You guys know I wasn't really feeling season 5. I was happy when Darla and Ralph Angel got married. That was a beautiful episode. But once they got into the whole George Floyd stuff, I was actually going on vacation to visit my daughter in California. And she lives a pretty primitive life, okay? Well, actually, they moved back to Florida, but back then they were in California. And so she didn't really have like cable set up. You had to go through like these different apps and things. I was trying to watch on my tablet because I have the own app. And there was just a lot going on, the time zone difference and everything. So I got behind by about 2 weeks. And then when I came back home, I was busy and I just wasn't feeling the remainder of the episode of the season. I did get caught up on it, but by then it was like a month or so had passed and it just didn't. I was going to go ahead and do a recap, but then I decided, you know what, it's not worth it. I'm not going to do the recap. So we're going to pick back up at season 6. And I was really hoping that when we got to this new season, which was supposed to have been filmed prior to COVID taking over our lives, that we wouldn't be dealing with COVID. But here we are. They're still in COVID. They're still with the Black Lives Matter theme. And we're going to try and, trudge through it. I told you in my recaps from season 5 that the rankings had really tanked on Queen Sugar. When they first debuted in that season 1, they were close to 2 million viewers or maybe over 2 million viewers. And now with season 5, they had gotten down to like 300,000 viewers. And so this show has really lost its audience, for various reasons. People cutting the cord with cable. People just, not into the content anymore because it is so heavy. And when you're already dealing with situations in real life, the last thing you want to do is turn on the TV and have to relive those things that you're already dealing with in your real life. And so I think it's a culmination of a lot of things that have caused the viewership to tank. And Oprah's actually paying attention because now you can watch some episodes for free on the OWN app. She's now running her shows on YouTube, so you can get caught up and watch the shows on YouTube. Not sure if it's part of the, like the newer episodes are probably part of the subscription service, but you can definitely catch up on older episodes on YouTube and you don't have to pay to watch those. So, since I was last on here, my vision has gotten really, really bad, y'all. So let me open this up and like blow it up so that I can read my notes, because it just don't make no sense how my eyes are betraying me at this moment. And I do have reading glasses, but they cause a big glare on the screen when I'm trying to record and wear them. So Queen Sugar, season 6, episode 1 was titled If You Could Enter Their Dreaming. And not really sure where that title comes from, but we're going to roll with it because that's what they titled the show. So the show picks up and we have Charlie. Okay, let's talk about Charlie for a second. Here it is. So let's talk about Charlie for a second. I have my notes in chronological order as to how the show rolled out, but I want to talk about some of these characters first. So Charlie, we know that Charlie and Davis have decided to rekindle their relationship, and I am here for it, okay? I have always wanted Charlie and Davis to get back together. I have not made a secret about that. I'm very vocal about that. And the main reason is that Charlie can't keep a man. And like these men that they were trying to hook her up with on the show, they just weren't giving us what we needed it to give, right? We need Charlie to be challenged. We need Charlie, to be on her toes with a man that, can sweep her off her feet. And Davis, even though they're trying, they had Davis crying and all emotional on the last episode of season 5. But I think that Davis can keep Charlie, in her place. I am all about redemption and second chances. So I don't have a problem with them getting back together. Although a lot of people who watch the show is like, no, don't let that happen. But let's think about it. Everybody that Charlie has gotten involved with have disappeared from the show. Like, it is so weird, right? So we had Remy. Remember, Remy got involved. Him and Charlie broke up. He got involved with Nova. That was a big mess because everybody turned on Nova for messing with Remy. And then Remy went to help his family move, and we never saw Remy again. Now, I thought Remy was coming back, but I guess he's no longer on the show. Then we had her kind of flirting with the Boudreaux guy, with Jacob Boudreaux. Nobody was here for that. Like, that was so crazy. I don't even know why the writers considered that nonsense. Then we had the Hispanic guy who she let into Queen Sugar to do the little medical clinic thing for the undocumented workers. The people came in and raided Queen Sugar, and we never saw him again. What was up with that? Like, this is so crazy how they have these people come on the show and then just disappear. And then speaking of coming on the show and disappearing, what happened to Parker? So on season 5 of Queen Sugar, it opened up strong with them at court or something, and Parker, serving Charlie with notice that they're about to run through St. Joe and take the farmer's land and build a highway after the prison fell through. And then Parker suddenly went to New York for the weekend. Charlie had a contact at the airport who said that Parker only had an overnight bag. We never saw Parker again, and we don't see Parker in this episode. And then we have Charlie, who has gone from, she was Davis' wife, head of his empire. That marriage fell apart. She came back to St. Joe. She was going to save the black farmers. First she bought the sugar mill, and then the Landry's came through and destroyed that situation. And then she got on city council. Then COVID came. So now Charlie is going to get into real politics, and I think try to be a senator or a state representative something she's getting ready to get into. So as this season picks up, Charlie is in California. She's supposed to be meeting with, I guess, the Democratic Party to talk about whether or not she would be a good candidate to represent the district that covers St. Joe. And so she decided that this would be a good opportunity to bring Davis along. They can spend some quality time together. They're sneaking around. Charlie had this big old fluff hat, you know, that she's creeping through the hotel with, passing by people, pulling the lid down. And I'm like, the rim down. And I'm just like, really, Charlie? Like, I guess they think the paparazzi is still following them. But anyway, they go into their little cabana and they're making out. You know, Davis is hiding out. Nobody's supposed to know that he's there. And I'm like, Davis, do people even care about you anymore? Because your storyline has changed a lot also, because you have gone from the basketball player to getting traded to the team in New Orleans to, I think you're going back to Los Angeles to raise your daughter because, you know, your outside child, because her mother had passed away. Then you brought the little girl to New Orleans to meet Charlie and Micah. Then the little girl just disappeared. We ain't seen the little girl no more. Then you got the job as the coach at Baylor, which I think Baylor is in Texas, right? Then when Charlie got COVID last year, you came and rescued her. You saved the day, nursed her back to health. Davis, do you have a job? Are you still at Baylor? Like, they just, that's one of the things I hate about Queen Sugar, is that sometimes they're like all over the place and they don't tie up their loose ends. So anyway, Charlie and Davis are at the hotel. They're hiding out. They're making out. And then they have a conversation about dating and whether or not he's serious, if they're going to try and take their relationship to the next level. And then Charlie says that, well, if we're going to do this, we need to not keep hiding. We need to tell my family that this is what we're doing, and then take it one step at a time. And then we know that Aunt Vi is not happy about Charlie possibly seeing Davis, and so that's going to be some drama within itself. And then I think the only other time we saw Charlie was she called Micah to see what Micah was up to. And we're going to get into what Micah has been up to. Okay. So the show opened up and, you know, we're still with COVID. As I said, they're doing the lockdowns. Blue has moved to DC and Darla is pregnant, like pregnant. And I believe Darla told Ralph Angel in the last episode that she was having a baby once they decided Blue was going to DC to go to this school that Darla's mom was able to get Blue into. And so, y'all know I always fight with my computer in this down scroll bar. But anyway, so they talk about Blue, but we never see Blue in this episode. And Aunt Vi is still angry with Ralph Angel about sending Blue to DC. Remember, she was not there for it. There is a scene where she talks about, I guess, Blue had came to visit for a week. And Ralph Angel sent Aunt Vi a message that, you know, she could come and see Blue, but she felt offended that she had to go see Blue, that they weren't going to bring Blue to her. And so she let her pride get in the way. And I don't think she ever went to see Blue, but she's trying to send this care package to Blue. And Hollywood is looking at her like, Lord, this lady is so crazy. And so, excuse me. So we start with Micah. Micah is taking, you know, because everything's shut down, colleges shut down. So Micah is taking this virtual class on Marcus Garvey, or I guess it's like a black politics course or something like that, probably African-American history. And it's part of a partnership with Xavier University and another school, or Xavier University has this program, and then I guess students can go and visit the program or be a part of it. It looked like there was only like 5 other students on the Zoom call with Micah. They look to all be young women. It has a lady as a teacher. You know, she's challenging Micah on his thought process and how he's viewing Marcus Garvey, and then comparing Marcus Garvey to Malcolm X. And long story short, we find out, child, when Charlie called Micah to ask Micah how things were going, Micah, you know, was not at home. Micah was at another house. It was a very feminine bedroom that Micah was in. Come to find out, Micah and the teacher is knocking boots, y'all. So I'm just like, Micah done went from breaking up with Kiki to hanging out, flying all over the place with Amber. And then I'm trying to figure out, did they ever say the teacher's first name? Like, is the teacher Amber? Or did we meet Amber when they went to Wisconsin? Minnesota, I'm sorry. I think we met Amber. So anyway, Micah having sex with the teacher. It was creepy. It was weird because Micah ain't like a sex symbol or anything. And then that dialogue that they was having about, you know, doing the do, I was just like, this is so out of character. But anyway, we're going to roll with it and we are going to see where it takes us. And she was basically challenging Micah's thought process on, you know, mental slavery and how we have the freedom to do things, but we're just so caught in our minds that we don't do the things. We're in like mental bondage, which keeps the Black community or Black people from progressing further and getting the power and the things that they want. And so I was just like, child, please. And then we go over to the farm and we have Ralph Angel and Prosper and they're talking. And so throughout the show, we had several scenes where Prosper was talking to people, you know, showing his appreciation for them and the things that they were doing. And I thought it was kind of strange. And then we find out later in the episode exactly why Prosper was doing all of that. And so I won't spoil it for those who haven't watched this show. But anyway, so they were talking and, you know, he was basically telling Ralph Angel, you know, that Ralph Angel was telling Prosper, you know, about Blue and how Blue loves being at the new school in DC. And then Prosper was like telling Ralph Angel, you know, that he was proud of him because there's this lawsuit for Black farmers that, you know, to help them get money and be able to take out these loans and help them through the whole COVID situation. And I believe those lawsuits were already in motion. Sorry about that. Somebody came to the door. So there's this lawsuit where the Black Farmers Association is suing the USDA. And I believe that this lawsuit started before COVID came because they had all this money. The government had put up all these billions of dollars to help farmers, but the money was going to everybody but the Black farmers. And then they started this lawsuit. And then I believe it got compounded when COVID came and the farmers had to shut down and that type of thing. And don't quote me on any of that because I'm telling you this off the top of my head because I do remember this being a thing. So anyway, Ralph Angel is spearheading the efforts in St. Joe to help the farmers get the money that is promised to them and to be able to get these lawsuits, be a part of this lawsuit and get reimbursed. And so Prosper is proud of Ralph Angel. You know, Ralph Angel really does need to keep busy doing stuff. Darla comes out and Darla is very pregnant at this point. So we know that, you know, a lot of time has passed and actually probably a year has passed since the start of season 5 because now they have the vaccine and we know that the vaccine rolled out in like January or February of this year. And so Darla would have ended up pregnant in around the time because they were on their honeymoon when the George Floyd situation happened. So that would have been May. And then maybe a month later, she got pregnant. Or she got pregnant on their honeymoon and found out she was pregnant. So Darla should be 6, 7, probably about 7 months pregnant at this point. And so she comes out and, you know, once again, you know, I always think that Darla looks sad and unsure about herself. And now I'm realizing that it just might be Darla's disposition, like the actress Bianca Lawson. It just might be her disposition and how she really is, that she always looks sad because she's supposed to be happy that she's pregnant, they seem to not be missing Blue too much, okay? Maybe because he was just there and had just left, but they seem to be content with starting their own family. And so I don't know if this means that, you know, like budget cuts, they start cutting characters out of the show, or if the actor who played Blue is moving on to another project and wasn't able to film. Not sure exactly what's going on, but we do seem to be losing characters as these seasons go on. So she basically is reassuring Ralph Angel, you know, that everything is going to be okay. Nova has her doing some community service work, and so she is on her way out to help Aunt Vi get some meals together or something. And then she asks Ralph Angel that he want to go with her because she knows that him and Aunt Vi aren't talking, and then she wants to like bridge that gap and bring them back together. But Ralph Angel says no, he is not going. And then let's see. So then we go over to the restaurant, and Aunt Vi is selling meals at a really, well, not even a discount. She's basically telling people pay what you can, and if you can't pay, you know, she's not going to send anybody away. And so they are preparing for this vaccine drive that Nova has going on. And I believe when the episode first started, they were showing Nova, and she was meeting, oh my God, I can't remember who the lady was that she was meeting. But basically, she had this exhibit going on, and another friend of hers, or her representative, was telling her she should consider getting into politics. And Nova said that no, politics wasn't her thing, that was something Charlie was getting ready to get into. And that was the lead in to us going to Charlie. And then also, I think I forgot to mention that while Charlie is in California, the meeting she was supposed to have with the DNC is like days away. But there was this lecture or something going on featuring Maxine Waters. And so she had gotten there early so that she could be a part of that. And then that's why her and Davis are hanging out together. So in any event, Aunt Vi is getting these meals together. Her and Hollywood are talking and, you know, just chit-chatting. And then Hollywood had this order for this guy, and the guy wanted a blueberry pie. And then Aunt Vi was like, no, that's my last blueberry pie. I'm shipping that off to Blue. And I'm sitting there thinking, now that blueberry pie been sitting on the counter the whole while y'all been talking. Blue don't want that blueberry pie. Like, you get to cook Blue a fresh blueberry pie and box it up and ship it off like as soon as you get it out of the oven, get it sealed up. And so then there was this bag of food that Hollywood said, well, I don't know who this food belonged to. Who does this bag belong to? And she grabbed the bag out of his hand and shoved it under the counter and was like, oh, you know, I'll figure that out. And then we later learned that there's somebody in St. Joe that's staying at this motel, and that is who Aunt Vi was taking this secret bag to. And then I got to thinking, like, who could that be? And I've come to the conclusion that I believe at the end of season 5, they were talking about, Hollywood was sharing with her about, what's her name, Luann, the ex-wife, and how, you know, it hurt him and how he's never really dealt with the death of their baby. And he was telling her that story. And so I was thinking, let me find out Aunt Vi then went and got Luann, because I think Luann and the mother, Hollywood's mother, I think they had a relationship. And so, you know, Hollywood's mom died of COVID in the last season. So I'm thinking maybe she done went and got Luann because she know that Luann doesn't have any family. And maybe that's who she has held up in that motel room. And even when she took the person the food, she just knocked on the door and put the food down by the door. Like, we never did see who was in the room. And she was just like standing off to the side. And then the person also called her at the restaurant, and she said to the person, oh, I got you, don't worry. So it'll be very interesting to find out who this person is that is held up in this motel room. And so then back to Ralph Angel, we found out that Ralph Angel is taking out these payday loans. And so it was multiple times he's re-upped these payday loans. And you guys know with payday loans, so you take the money out, they charge you like this crazy fee. So say you take out a loan for $500, then there's a 10% fee that's like $50. And people look at it like it's real easy, right? Oh, it's $50, I'm getting $500, I'll pay the $500 back on my next payday, no problem. But really the trap of the payday loan is that people normally can't pay the $500 back on the next payday. And so they just keep taking the loan out and keep taking the loan out and keep paying that $50 fee each time you renew the loan. And so he goes and the guy is telling him like, this is your 4th or 5th time. I'm going to have to run a background check on you. And so Ralph Angel was like, well, no, this is the last one that I'm taking out. You know, you ain't got to worry about that. I'm good because I'm getting ready to get this money from this lawsuit, this farmer's lawsuit. And I'm thinking like Ralph Angel is really slow. Like he really doesn't understand how, you know, all of this works. And so he gets the money, and the reason he was getting the money was because he wanted to get this crib that Darla had fell in love with. And so he used the money to get the crib. And then, you know, after they have this tender moment and everything about the crib, was it after the crib arrived? I know it was at some point. He's talking on the phone, and then he goes and gets into the car. So he was on the phone with Darla. So it wasn't when the crib arrived. He's on the phone with Darla. They hang up. Then he gets into the truck and he gets another phone call. And so we find out that he has taken out a mortgage on the Queen Sugar property, on the family farm. And he is 60 days behind. And Ralph Angel is like, you know, you guys said you were going to work with me. You know, I'm waiting on this lawsuit to come in. And the guy said, we have worked with you. We've given you an extension. And he said, we're just calling to let you know that, you know, at 90 days, if you haven't paid us this money back, then we're going to foreclose on the land. And so I'm sitting there like, oh my God, like he has probably taken this loan out with like a hard money lender. And basically what hard money lenders do is they loan money on property and they come at very, very high interest rates. And they usually charge interest along the length of the loan. And then so you're only paying the interest, which is usually a lot of money. And then when the term is closed, so it's a short-term loan, which is usually 18 months or less. In Ralph Angel's case, he probably did it for like a year or so. And then they want their money. And when the money doesn't come through, they take your land. So it's not like a traditional bank. And so they're threatening to take the land. I have no doubt that these people are probably somehow connected to the Landrys because, you know, they want that Queen Sugar farm land. And so Ralph Angel has fallen into this trap. And then to make things worse, Ralph Angel quit his job at the nursing home. And y'all know in season 5, I was talking about how Ralph Angel went to work a couple of days and then all of a sudden we never saw Ralph Angel at work anymore. But he told Darla that he quit his job, you know, because this money is going to come in from this lawsuit. And I'm just thinking he has no clue. Like you're trying to get the money from the lawsuit, but there probably has to be hearings. There has to be a determination. You don't know how much money you're actually going to get because it's going to be based on the number of people that file a suit or file to be a part of the lawsuit. And so he's thinking that he's going to get all this money when it could very well turn out that he doesn't get but maybe $50,000 or something. So he is being very unrealistic. He's being prideful in doing all of this on his own without asking for help from his sisters. And so it's going to be interesting when Charlie finds out that he's mortgaged this property. And he even said that he was tired of, you know, going to Charlie, asking Charlie for money. So he's trying to do this on his own, and he is about to make a mess of things. And so Nova is doing this drive, but she's also still working on doing her articles for her True Media, whatever her website that she started. And you guys remember in last season, she met this guy who had been assaulted by police officers, and we found out that Calvin was one of the police officers that was involved with this assault. And so Nova is meeting with him again. It's the middle of the night. They on the side of the road. I mean, the cinematography was beautiful, but I was like, like, are they in secrecy? Like, y'all can go somewhere else. You know, they were literally in the car on the side of the road. The guy was very skeptical because it's come out, you know, that Calvin was one of the police officers. And then I thought it was interesting, and I watched the show like 2 times, and I don't recall Nova talking about what happened to Calvin. And remember when the season ended, last season, Calvin, the police or the federal investigators or somebody had came, FBI or someone, had came and gotten Calvin to go interview him because he had called to tell what happened during that event. And so we don't know what happened to Calvin. Is Calvin in jail? Did Nova break up with Calvin? What is going on in that situation? But I'm sure we'll find out in future episodes. But anyway, Nova assures the guy that things are over, not over with her and Calvin, but that he doesn't have to worry about her betraying him, that she's never betrayed a confidential informant, that his secret is safe. She would go to jail, okay, before she would give him up. And so he seems to believe her, and they go ahead with the interview. And then Nova gets back home, and she's looking for her keys, and she looks up and realizes that her front door is open. Now, I would have left. I probably would have went and called the police, but Nova went in the house. I was like, oh my God. But then she realizes that she probably was in a rush and left the front door open because her engagement ring was laying on the table. And so, you know, she assures herself that it was just a mistake that she made. And she goes on into the house. And let's see. And then let's talk about a little bit. They have the vaccine drive. This is what everybody's working towards in the episode, is this vaccine drive that Nova has put together. It's supposed to be for the residents of St. Joe, for the elderly, for the people, you know, that are high risk to get COVID. But when they finally get there, everything is about to get rolling. There are like hundreds of people. They said that the line was so long that it was stretching into other counties. Now, keep in mind, these parishes are like small communities. And so we're not talking about, you know, like a city, the size of a city. And it's so interesting because we did a similar drive here. There's a place on one of the major thoroughfares, US 19, that it's like a community service center, and they did these vaccination drives. And I mean, it was like half the police force would be there. They had the parking lot set up just like Nova them did, with the cones creating like that zigzag effect as people are going through. They were giving away free foods. And so I believe that this is something that has been very common throughout communities, and the police are involved. And it just shows once again why you need that police involvement, you know, to help with situations like this where things could get out of hand very quickly. So the line is long. There's hundreds of people in line. Nova only has 100 vaccines. And so they get to a point where they have to realize that, okay, we have really got to be strict about this. We have got to limit this to people that actually, the elderly and people that actually live in St. Joe. Well, it was a bunch of white folks in the line, right? They done came from all these other communities trying to get this vaccine. And so, you know, things are about to go crazy. They are going to jump off for real because the people aren't taking no for an answer. And then on top of that, Nova has started this defund the police campaign. And so the police are not happy with Nova at this point because they're like, you know, how are you going to defund the police? And we already know, like in real life, that the messaging behind defund the police is so off track and so overboard that people, the way it was presented was like they were talking about taking money from the police, cutting down on police presence and that type of thing. But defund the police is really about taking money. Like there's all this money going to police force to police the communities, when some of that money could be rerouted to hire social workers. And so you have calls about mental health, illness, domestic violence. Instead of the police showing up, send a social worker to show up. And that's really what defund the police is about. But the narrative that got out was that it's about taking money from the police, firing police officers, shutting down police departments, and that type of thing. And so Nova, you know, is kind of like on that bandwagon where we're not going to call the police for anything. And we also saw this in The Chi, if you guys watched The Chi, where they were going to do the defund the police. And so a situation jumps off, you know, where the people are getting angry and upset that they can't get the vaccine, that Nova's telling them that they can't get it. They were asking for ID. It didn't matter if you registered, that type of thing. And people were just getting angry. A man stole, you know, Nova made them get out of line. And I think his wife said she was a nurse or something, or in the medical profession. So he gets out of line, but then he walks back and steals some of the dosages from the box that was on the table. And so at that point, Nova was like, oh no, we got to call the police. And then Michael was there taking pictures. And he was like, call the police. Like, what are you talking about? And Nova was like, this thing has gotten out of hand. We have to call the police. And then when the police do show up, things really, really get out of hand. And so before I get to what happened when the police showed up, let's go back to Aunt Vi and Hollywood. And so there was a scene where Hollywood was sitting in a room and he had all of his mother's stuff because, you know, the mother died. He brought some of her personal things back to St. Joe. And so he's going through the stuff. He's going through a tackle box, you know, and had like a picture of him and her. And, you know, he's really sad. And then it lets us realize that he still hasn't dealt with the death of his mother in the way that he needed to. And he doesn't have Aunt Vi's support. And so I'm kind of thinking Aunt Vi and Hollywood might not make it because Aunt Vi is so busy being in everybody else's business, worrying about Blue going to DC, whoever she got held up in this room, trying to feed the community, you know, arguing with different members of the family, that she has not helped Hollywood mourn the loss of his mother. And so he's in there going through this stuff. Then he gets this hat box and it has a red fedora in there. He puts the hat on and then he's mimicking his mom. And he just seems really, really sad. And then he, you know, leaves the room and he goes to get in the bed. Aunt Vi was in the bed. And I thought it was so funny that Aunt Vi Hollywood bed is like a full-size bed. Like that bed is so small. But he goes in the room and he's trying to hold Vi. But she's so tired from running all over, cooking and trying to do everything else that she's like, okay, you know, I'm tired. And she ends up falling asleep and telling him that they can't do whatever their routine was. She had some ointment or something. So I don't know if she was going to give Hollywood a massage or if Hollywood was going to give her a massage or what this ointment was. But she ended up falling asleep with the ointment. And then you could just see how sad Hollywood looked. You know, that they weren't going to have this time together before they went to bed. And let's see, I already talked about Nova leaving the door open. And, oh, I was going to tell you guys about our city and their efforts to defund the police. So they had this money budgeted that they were going to have like a training for 25 new police officers or something. And then some other money for training and updates and stuff like that. So they basically took that money. It was grant money. It wasn't even budgeted money. It was money that they had received in a grant. And so instead of putting on those trainings and hiring those additional police officers, they decided to take the money and hire 25 social workers and create this new division of the police officer where these social workers, like if a call comes in about domestic violence or something like that, then the social worker would go to the call instead of the police officer. And they may have a police escort, but for the most part, the initial contact was going to be with the social worker. And when I tell you that we have already, I think by July, we had already exceeded the number of murders in our city that we had the year before. And so it's just been really crazy, you know. And then there is supposedly an order out that police only go to situations where somebody has called 911. So if they're driving down the street and they see two people fighting on the side of the road, they're not going to stop and intervene in that fight. They might just sit there and watch what happens, but they're not going to go up to the fight and intervene. And I think that is kind of crazy. They're not doing like traffic stops anymore. I don't know the last time I saw a police officer pull somebody over. Like, people are driving reckless through the city. It is just really, really crazy and confusing time right now. But this is part of their defund. You know, like, you don't want police intervention, we ain't gonna give you police intervention. But I'm sure they over there in the white part of the town doing whatever they had already been doing, protecting and making sure they're not over there killing each other. So that was one of my other notes, because I'm not reading this in the order that it's going. I told you guys about Micah and the professor. And so there really wasn't a lot going on. So we'll go ahead and get to the part where things get really, really crazy. They're down to 50 doses at the drive that they have. And so we have these situations where, you know, they're walking through the line, going to people where they're only going to acknowledge people from St. Joe. So of course the white people and the people from the other communities are looking at them. And so arguments are breaking out. And we get to this one argument where this lady, Nova had told this older lady, Miss Pathina, that she could go ahead and get a dose. Somebody overheard the conversation. So the white lady gets out her car. So by now, you know, Nova has called the police. So the police officer is there. And so he's basically saying, why not give them both? Like, to solve the argument, give Miss Pathina her dosage, give this lady her dosage. And Nova was like, well, this lady isn't from here. And so the police officers have an attitude. They're not trying to accommodate Nova in what's going on. And so Advice says, okay, well, you know, I'll take Miss Pathina to get her ID and that'll solve the problem. But you know that this lady lives here. And so then there was another deputy that came up. And so Prosper was arguing with this woman about, you know, them coming over into the community and how they know the Miss Pathina lady has lived here all her life. And, you know, I've never seen you before and all of this stuff. And so the deputy was really like trying to calm the situation, but not calm the situation, because then he started pushing Prosper. And then I think at one point he grabbed Prosper's arm, and then Prosper shrugged away. It was like, young man, you know, you don't be putting your hand on me. You don't be talking to me. And so then the guy grabbed Prosper again and he shoved Prosper. Prosper fell back and hit his head on the concrete. Now, I didn't see any blood, but somebody I was talking to said that she saw blood pooling around Prosper's head. And I have looked at it a couple of times, and I didn't see the blood. But in any event, we know that Prosper, you know, has been seriously injured. They were yelling, you know, get an ambulance, get an ambulance. The deputy was standing there like in shock. And then he finally gets on the mic and says he needs an ambulance. And so Prosper goes to the hospital. We don't know if Prosper is going to live or die, but I was sitting there in like in shock that they would do this to Prosper. Although we know that we read these things about these incidents actually happening during the Black Lives Matter protests, where, you know, people were getting shoved around, knocked down. People were dying from their injuries from, you know, the police trying to break up crowds and stuff during these protests. So I don't know if they're going to kill Prosper off. It just reminded me, because like Prosper reminds me so much of my dad, you know, who passed away back in 2009. And so, you know, he's like my surrogate daddy. And I'm sitting there like, I know they're not about to kill Prosper off, because I might have to leave this show alone for good. But that's how that ended. I guess we'll find out in next episode, like what's going to happen with Prosper. It would just be a shame if they kill Prosper out. And then we had the scene with Micah, you know, where he's doing this project for his school, where he's, oh, I can't remember what he said, black something, black in the community. I wrote down what he said his photo project was going to be called, but I've skipped over this so much that I can't remember where I put it. But anyway, it was Blank and Determination or something like that. And so he's just taking pictures of, you know, everything that was going on. And so I'm sure he'll end up winning the Pulitzer Prize, you know, covering the part about Prosper being and the police brutality against Prosper. So guys, that's it. Did you enjoy the season opener? Are you like me, where you're ready to move on from COVID and Black Lives Matter and get back to Parker and Charlie squaring off? You know, how do you feel about Charlie? And every season she has a new path that she's about to take career-wise. And so now it's like she's gotten totally away from the Black farmers and the, you know, and the sugar mill and all of that stuff, to now she's getting into politics. Will her being a part of politics help the farmers get the lawsuit money? Is Ralph Angel going to end up losing everything before he gets to the lawsuit? You know, sometimes they have stipulation with government loans that say that if you have a criminal record, you can't get a small business loan or a government loan or student loans from the government. Is that going to be a roadblock that Ralph Angel is going to end up facing? Once the lawsuit is approved, he's not going to be able to get the money. You know, will Charlie and Davis be able to come through and save the farm once again? There's so many possibilities with the storylines that they've already opened up this season. So it'll be interesting to see where all of this goes. So go ahead, leave your comments below, rate the video, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And until the next time, I shall talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.